In this video, we're going to cover the various labeler settings. I'm going to go to configuration, device configuration, automatic, labeler, and then right here, this one is set right now to a quick piston labeler.
Stop! This training video on Bizerba equipment is provided as a customer service to Vandenberg Scale customers who have purchased Bizerba product from Vandenberg Scales in the past. Since 2015, Vandenberg Scales has stopped selling Bizerba and designed our own weight price labeling product so that we can properly support our valued customers. The Vandenberg Scales weight price labeling product is specifically designed to endure the rigors of the processing plant environment, being extremely robust. The Vandenberg Scales weight price labeling equipment is designed to be lower cost to purchase, easier and simpler to operate, much lower cost to maintain, much lower cost to service, and easily serviced by your own technicians while being washdown capable and extremely durable. We have felt your weight price labeling pain over the years and promise not to overprice parts or services, keep the design simple, and use normal industry available parts. Vandenberg Scales still has a large inventory of Bizerba parts that we will eagerly offer substantial discounts to you on. If you have not explored the Vandenberg Scales weight price labeling equipment, you owe it to yourself to have a look. We are confident that once you understand the advantages, you will purchase Vandenberg Scales weight price labeling product.
So I'm going to open that up, and then right in here you have all your settings, and that goes into both pages by hitting the etc. button. But right now we have angle of rotation, and that is very simply the angle of rotation that your piston will apply the label. If you want it to twist every label coming out at, say, 180 degrees, because otherwise it would be upside down. That's the nice thing of a piston labeler, because no matter how the labels roll up in the machine, you can rotate them as needed. Your acceleration time is the time that you allow the piston to accelerate, not its acceleration rate, but the length and time of its acceleration, because you use both acceleration time and extending time. So for 30 milliseconds, you allow the air pressure to accelerate this piston and allow it to extend for 40 milliseconds. So for 30 milliseconds, it is accelerating, and for 10 milliseconds, between the 30 and 40, it is coasting down and then retracting. So you can give it extra extension time, say if it needs to travel a longer distance, or increase the acceleration time if you want the piston to strike the package harder or lighter, depending on how you want to set it. Your standby vacuum is just how much vacuum is left ready by the machine pre-use or before every label. Your error vacuum, we like to set that as low as possible, because it requires a certain amount of vacuum when it's pulling on the label, and if it doesn't get a certain amount of vacuum, it will air out. So say you have that at 30%, if your vacuum ever falls below 30% of what's needed, it will stop the machine. And then another important one is your aspiration time on the grippers. Now this is not the piston, this is the grippers that lead the label to the piston, and that aspiration time is how long you allow the machine to wait for vacuum. So in 35 milliseconds after that label is fed out of the print head, it will look for vacuum, and it will only look for vacuum for 35 milliseconds, which is what we have it set at, before it stops the machine and gives you an error. So if it takes 40 milliseconds to acquire grip, to acquire vacuum, then it's too long and it will stop your labeling. Now, say bowed labels or stuff like that can cause it not to get the vacuum in time, or if you just don't have enough vacuum. But you can give it a little extra time if your machine is a little old and not working real great. The rest of the stuff you don't really have to worry about. So I'm going to change the labeler type to belt labeler. Now, obviously this will stay the same on your machine because you won't be swapping labelers out, but just to run through it, I'm going to change it to belt labeler, and we're going to go through that. Same thing with the standby vacuum. That is how much is stored, your air vacuum is the same, gripper aspiration time is also the same. Your label excess length is very important on a belt labeler, because if you have a very long label, that the machine will have trouble pushing it up because it has to push it onto the belt, up into the belt, and if it's a very long label and it can't quite get enough out onto the belt for it to pull off of the grippers. So you can actually increase that excess label length, and what it will do is it will actually pull those grippers down farther to allow more excess length to be driven onto the belt. And this is just your moving time on your pressure roller, which snaps onto the belt to allow the label to stay secured to the belt as it pulls up under the package. If you put too much time on that, then your second label could run into your pressure roller. If not enough, then your label could go shooting off into the sky. So that's really the only stuff you have to worry about. If you have your air feed settings off, you should know pretty quick, because that's actually, there is a burst of air that helps the label onto the belt, that basically accelerates it to the speed of the belt, because those grippers aren't really traveling fast enough, so it uses a little pop of air to help it. So you can play with these two settings if needed, but I haven't really seen much need for that.